Okay, hello and good afternoon. Want to welcome everyone to our ongoing CMiC webinar series. This series allows us to share our new products and features created to improve your workflows and efficiencies. I will be presenting CMiC Project Gateway, the newest installment in our webinar series. Before I get started, I want to remind you that all audience lines have been muted. However, if you have a content-related question, you can ask it at any time by using the Q&A panel at the top right of the screen. So just to repeat, top right, start putting your questions in there. We'll tackle them later on in the session. I'm Oliver, and I will be co-presenting with Ken and Fabia today. To begin, I'll be providing you guys with a overview of our latest tools that provides ERP class construction software via CMiC collaboration. So here's today's agenda. I am going to show you how CMiC Project Gateway works. And just a reminder that CMiC Project Gateway is a service that runs on our CMiC Collaborate server, and you're going to become very accustomed with that as we go through the demo today. And it's available for all teams to experience total collaboration, and you'll see what that means after the demonstration as well. So as an example, teams will be able to work on the latest and current documents and communications with partners in both the web as well as the mobile applications. So first, we're going to show you how the gateway works. Then after that, we're going to show you a little bit of setup. So how do we make the gateway come alive? It's actually a very simple process. We're going to go through those steps. And then afterwards, we're going to take a look at it from the mobile perspective. So what happens when you're out in the field and your collaborators want to get access to your projects? How do they do that? How do they utilize our mobile tool to make that happen? You're going to see exactly how that's done. And then afterwards, we're going to have a little bit of Q&A with my boy Nathan, and we're going to close it out, and hopefully you guys start running the product. So let's kind of jump into this right away. So Project Gateway acts as a gateway dashboard for on-premise as well as cloud clients. And what it is, it's a cloud-based project registry. And you can think of it this way. Every project that you have that you're running within the CMiC environment, you can publish that project to our Collaborate Gateway, and it will appear on your collaborators portal. So there's a couple of benefits to using the gateway. So from the collaborators perspective, they use a single sign-on. So the only place that your collaborators need to go in order to access a CMiC project, and this is a live CMiC project, real documents, real communications happening in real time, is CMICcollaborate.com. From your perspective, you do not have to manage your collaborators' access. Your collaborators' access to your projects are managed via the CMiC Collaborate system as soon as you publish that project to the collaboration portal and you invite those collaborators to use the CMiC Collaborate portal. So what ends up happening is our clients, the CMiC clients, you reduce your password as well as your user management. You're turning that management of your collaborators over to the gateway process, right? So you'll see how all of that comes together, and hopefully, you'll get some understanding of it. And then at the end of it, we'll do the Q&A, and we can address the questions that you might have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually break out of my presentation right now, and just kind of jump into a CMiC project and show you guys how this all comes together. So in today, both enterprise as well as cloud clients, they're accustomed to accessing our application, via URL, and then there's a username and password, and you typically come into a project portal that looks very similar to what you're seeing on the screen. And then once you're in that project portal, you can, launch applications, do various type of activities depending on your security within the system. However, when you're using Collaborate, the access to your projects changes slightly. And what I mean by that is this now becomes the way that they access your project. So they go to CMICcollaborate.com, which I have done, Once they're registered with this system, which this guy, Austin, has registered already, they use this single sign-on to access all CMiC projects. So the two things to take away from this screen is there's one place for your collaborators to go and one sign-on for your collaborators to use. And for the CMiC clients, you don't have to maintain any of this once you do the project publishing, which is we're going to show you. So I'm going to hit the next button. It's going to ask me for my password. My password is pre-filled. And once again, I am going in as a collaborator. Very, very easy access. The username is an email address. The password is the password of your choice. When they come into the gateway, they're going to see something that looks like this. And what you're looking at is the CMiC Project Gateway dashboard. And this is a list of projects that this user has access to or has been given access to. So the way it works is they're listed on the gateway. As you can clearly see, these are all related to a single client, but if your collaborators are working with multiple CMiC clients, then this area of the card or the project dashboard will change depending on the client that they're working with. And of course, the project name is up here. There's a little map indicating where the project is located. The collaborator simply has to do this. The project that they want to get access to, they simply click on it. And then once they click on it, the collaboration portal takes over and it automatically navigates, or the gateway opens, and it opens the gateway to the project that you're requesting access to, as you can clearly see. Now, as a collaborator, I am inside of the project and I can quickly jump into my communication folder and punch through my RFIs. And this is how easy it is for a collaborator to get into one of your projects to consume real-time data, because at this point, you're actually inside of a CMiC system consuming the data that you've been given access to. The second thing to note, at this point, the collaborator also is being restricted by your project management security. So the gateway portal does not take anything away from a security perspective. The only thing the gateway is designed to do is to make your lives and your collaborators' lives extremely easy in terms of getting to the data and doing what they need to do in a very timely and opportunistic manner. Now, generally speaking, the collaboration is going to be around communications and document management, but you are allowed to either give them access to more or less, depending on how your PM security is set up. That's entirely up to you. The gateway doesn't control that. The gateway simply allows a collaborator to come in to CMICcollaborator.com, log in, click on a project within the gateway, and then it opens up that project for you where you can go ahead and you can actually start communicating or answering your RFIs in a very timely manner. Now, everything that you do within the CMiC project portal is obviously live. It's going directly into the database. And if you have workflows, you got notifications turn on, all of those things are in play and people are notified subsequent to actions being taken by collaborators. So very, very smooth process. So what I'm going to do now is I am actually going to require the assistance of Fablia. And what she's going to do is she's going to share her desktop, and we're going to run through how you make the gateway come alive. And just to give you an example of, just to describe what you're looking at, here she is running within our cloud platform, within a tenant in our cloud platform, and she's in a project. And what she's going to do within the project is she is going to either publish this project or invite a person. So Fablia, just kind of run me through what you're going to be doing. Okay, so she's navigating, and we're just waiting for her to click a button here so I can bring you guys up to speed. So you go into the project maintenance, and once your system has been configured, and FYI, all cloud clients have been configured with this, so you should be able to get to the Gateway tab. Once you're on the Gateway tab, you'll see one of two statuses. The not published status, which is what we're looking at right now. And if it's published, it will say that your project has been published to the gateway. So what Fablia is going to do is she's going to go through the publishing process. So you click the edit button. It turns on a couple of fields for you. At this point, you want to say that you want to publish this project as private. And what that means is when you publish it as private, it's invitation only. So only people that you invite into the project is able to get access to this project from the gateway. There's a few other flags that you really don't need to pay much attention to. They're implementation details, but just note that you can set your default project role and your default project security, and that's going to become important later when we talk about the actual invitation process or the onboarding of collaborators. So we're just going to go with the defaults right now. The one thing that we want to call out is if you hit the preview button on the invitation template, what it will do is it will show you what that message is going to look like when you send it to your collaborators. Note that everything that is encapsulated with percent signs, those are placeholders, and those are going to be filled in as runtime. This is just a template that we give. You can modify it. There is a mechanism in the system to modify it. However, most people just seem to use the regular template. If you want to modify it, you can go ahead and press the editor button, and that would allow you to actually go into the HTML and change the styling or change the text or whatever you wish to change there. So you have full control over that message. But we're going to stick to the default message for now and just keep it nice and vanilla. For enterprise clients out there who are using multiple LDAPs, we do support multiple LDAPs as well. This is our cloud system, so we take care of all of that for you, but for the enterprise systems that are out there, just know that we support multiple LDAPs. So once you get this basic information, essentially is just clicking the private radio button, you can go ahead and press the publish to collaborate. And what happens now is behind the scenes, we're communicating with the Collaborate server. So remember when I started, I showed you a demonstration of a collaborator logging into a portal. What's happening now is we're communicating with that portal to get the information about this project up to the portal. And this usually takes a couple of minutes. Sometimes it's extremely fast. Sometimes it probably takes up to 5 minutes. So I'm not sure if I have enough content to kill 5 minutes until the messaging is done. But what we're going to do is we're going to give you guys a peek behind the scenes to show you what's actually happening. For those of you guys who are familiar with the back end of RTI, you can actually go into the RTI log like it's being shown right now, and the messages at the top where it says in process, what that means, it's actually communicating with the Collaborate server back and forth. So hopefully when we press the go button again, we see success, which means that the communication has been done. And you'll note that now the status of the project is published. So there is no red banner saying that not published, right? Pretty easy process. The next step now is we're going to send out some invitations. And the way you do that is you go down to the second section and notice how everything is kind of streamlined as a workflow. So in the top section, you publish your project. In the middle section, now you're going through your invites. You hit the select button, and it's going to bring up a list of values with your contacts. Fablia is going to select herself because obviously she has to show you what the email looks like. This can be a multi-select operation. You can go ahead and send out that email for Fablia. And you can choose if you want to send it one at a time, multiples at a time. Once again, if you haven't set the defaults for the LDAP, you can do that. This is where that project role and that security role becomes important. If you're setting up a user for the first time, what we're doing is we're automating that process for you. So if you go to the bottom of the list, I believe there is a sub, and you want to select subcontractor. So whatever your project role is that you're using for external collaboration, you can either set it in default or you can set it, one at a time, and then you give them a security role. The license type, we're not going to touch on that, but just know that the licenses are being automatically managed behind the scenes. And then once this record is complete, you just simply press the send button, and it's going to send out those invitations, right? So now it's telling us that this person is a user in the system, but they're not a contact in the project. So we're going to make them, sorry, vice versa, they're a contact, but not a user. We're going to make them a user because they need to log into the system. You accept that. Here's where that template comes in. So we said that we're going to use the invitation template. If you want it to be custom, you press the custom button. And of course, once again, you can get into the minutia and change your HTML around if you wish. You don't really have to do it. Just go with the project template and press the send button. What this does now, it actually sends out an invite via email to the contact or contacts that you have invited. So if you hit the OK button, you'll notice now that that user has moved from the to be invited to the invited section. Pay attention to the action column because the action column becomes very important later if you want to resend the invitation because maybe it got jammed up in a spam mail or something like that, or you want to delete the invite. Now, also note that in the case of deletion, what you're doing is you're just revoking the person's access from the project. So they still will remain part of a user in CMiC Collaborate. They just wouldn't have access to your project once you revoke the access using that button right there, right? So now the email is out there in the wild, and I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to go into her Gmail account and take a look to see if that email showed up. So I'm assuming that that's the email that was sent. And you'll see that now the text that was in the previous template has been filled in. So it has her name in there, the project information is in there, the template is filled out, it no longer looks like gobbledygook, it's a perfectly formatted message. And since she's a new user, she's gonna click on the Join Team button. So it automatically fills in the email because we know who it is. Once you click on the email, it fills in the email and it says, let's get started. We're gonna hit next. And this is going to bring you through a registration workflow. So what the system is doing now, it's actually verifying or validating that the email address that you provided is valid, right? So this is your verification email. And in order to keep everything above board, we send you a passcode. So you copy the passcode and you pop it back into this input. You verify it. The system is going to go. It's going to say, hey, the verification code is good. Go ahead and create a password. And it tells you what those parameters for the passwords are. So we kind of keep it a little bit of balance between, you know, not being 1, 2, 3, 4 or ABC and something that you can remember. So right now we're asking for the passwords to be 8 characters long, and it must contain 1 uppercase and 1 lowercase letter and at least 1 number. So with that variation, you can come up with a relatively secure password. And then, of course, you just go ahead and press continue, and the system will complete the registration process for you. Once the registration process is completed, then Fablia will log in every time she comes to this Collaborate portal using this email address and using this password. So you click on the sign in button. You see her project gateway is loaded, and there's her project showing up on the gateway. And then the last step is pretty trivial, like I showed you earlier. You click on it, it opens up the gateway, and it brings you into the project, right? This is a test project, so obviously we are not adhering to collaboration security, so the menu is a little bit heavy type of thing. But in the real life scenario that I started off with and I showed you, that's more like what the collaborators menu is going to look like. It's going to be primarily documents and communication is what they're going to be what they're going to have access to once they come into the CMiC project, right? So that's the web experience of a collaborator going into the gateway, and that's the experience of you guys as CMiC clients publishing your projects and inviting your collaborators to use the CMiC gateway, the CMiC project gateway, to get access to your projects. It's really that simple. I mean, we went through this stuff. You know, I'm doing a webinar, but it kind of feels like a training session right now because it really is that easy. So Now that you've seen the how we publish projects, how we onboard collaborators, and also how we use the CMiC Gateway with the web application, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick it over to Ken, who is assisting me now, and he is actually going to show you what it looks like or what the experience is like from the mobile application. Because remember, CMiC has a mobile field application. So Ken is probably getting started. If you are sharing your screen, Ken, all we can see is a white background and your mouse moving. So I'm not sure what adjustments you need to make there, but if you need a couple more minutes, we can jump into a little bit of a maybe a Q&A and come back to you in a bit. If you want to turn your mic on and let us know what's up, you can do that as well.
Sure, just setting up 1 second.
Oh, there we go.
You should see my screen.
Yeah, you just click on your whatever you're using to emulate and get rid of that. It's almost like a sheet of white on top of your display. There we go.
Well, no.
That's better. There we go.
Good.
We're rocking and rolling now. Beautiful. Okay. CMiC Collaborate on a mobile device. There's a switch behind the scenes that you turn on to get to this screen. And once you're here and you're registered as a Collaborate user, which we just showed you, you put that email address in there, you put in your password, and you hit the login. Keep in mind, you can check the buttons at the bottom that says remember me and all that good stuff. The interface or the dashboard you see, the Collaborate dashboard, looks very, very, very familiar. This is the Project Gateway dashboard on a mobile device. Very familiar to the web application. Only difference here is you're running it off of a mobile device. In this case, I believe you're using an iPad, right, Ken?
That is correct.
Okay, we'll just assume that he's using an iPad. So similar deal. He's going to log into one of the projects. And when I say log in, I simply mean tap on the card. The mobile application is actually going to do the authentication again. It's going to bring Ken into that project. And of course, it's going to be live. And then once he's in the project, he's going to do a standard project management type operation. So I think what we had planned on doing is pulling up a drawing. It really showcases our drawing management feature. So once again, even if they're just coming in to view drawings, you can just get them to go through the gateway and everything is taken care of there. He's on a drawing right now, and I think what you're going to do is do a markup. And from that markup, we're just going to go ahead and create an RFI or something like that, but some type of CMiC object. So as he's going through the navigation, you'll notice that there is no decrease in capabilities when you are coming through the gateway. It's the same amount of features that you get when you're using the gateway as if you were logging in directly into the project. The benefit, of course, of using the gateway is you don't have to manage your collaborators, and the collaborators don't have to remember multiple URLs. They simply go to cmiccollaborate.com. So filling out an RFI is pretty easy. You pop in the two-person. This is going to chat. We're going to keep it simple. This one is about a room size, C drawing. He's going to go ahead. He's going to hit save. And of course, that RFI is going to be created. If he was responding to an RFI, he would just simply open the RFI and answer the RFI. But in this case, he's creating one. So we decided to show you that workflow. And of course, you know, the RFI is linked to the drawing. All of that is taken care of within the mobile application as part of the drawing management feature set. So Ken's a pretty busy guy, and he's working on a couple of projects that are all managed by CMiC. So what he's going to do now is he is going to log out of this project, go back to the gateway dashboard, and then hop into a second project. And of course, the application, the mobile application, takes care of all the authentication. Just a quick tip, in the R12 version, this is a very, very speedy process. And now he's just, I think he's going to pop into an RFI. And open it up and respond to an RFI. And of course, once again, you're working in a live database. This is not being stored in a file server somewhere or any of that type of stuff. This is full real life collaboration. He's answered the RFI. If he has anything else to do, he goes ahead and does that. But at this point, he can simply leave the app open, close the app. He's done his business collaborating on 2 projects in approximately under 5 minutes. I'm not saying it's going to take you that amount of time to do your job, but the gateway allows you to do it in such an efficient manner. It's really, really efficient in the way that we've streamlined this to make it work for you. All right, Ken, I want to thank you for that. And I think now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come back over to my deck. I just have to do a little bit of jigging here. And as soon as I find my control, I will share my screen again. So just here, trying to get the go-to controls, and I'll take back the control from Ken, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and you guys should be seeing my screen momentarily. So just to kindly quickly review what we went through so far. So we talked about the gateway setup. In terms of publishing a project, that's what Fablia showed. You go into the project, you go into project maintenance, you go to the gateway tab, and you go from top to bottom. Very simple workflow there. The sign up process, very, very simple. You get an email, you follow the links in the email, follow the path in the email. Once you are a CMiC collaborator in the CMICcollaborator.com system, you can log in using your email address and the password that you created. As a client, you do not have to manage that. The collaboration system manages that. And then last but not least, you have access to all the live data that you've given your collaborators access to, so they're able to perform their jobs as they see fit. So at this point now, I think what we're going to do is we're going to turn it over to Nitin to facilitate a rapid Q&A. He has a gang with him. I'm not sure who the gang is, but I've been told that the gang is out there and they're looking at questions. And Nathan, do you have anything for us?
Absolutely. Thank you, Oliver. Yes, we are certainly looking at the questions that have been coming in. So let me kick off the Q&A. The first question is, can you view a map with all of your projects? I think this probably relates to the dashboard view, I guess.
Sorry, I was having some audio issues. Can you repeat that question for me again?
Sure. The question is, can you view a map with all of your projects?
Well, with all of your projects. Right now, no, we don't have a consolidated map. Everything is on a single card. But I do like what I'm hearing. That's definitely something that I'm going to put on the project roadmap there. But yeah, right now it's the map is just shown on a card by card or on a project by project basis, but showing a consolidated view. I do like that idea, and that's something that we're going to take as feedback and turn it over to the developers.
Okay, and the next question is, can the collaborator answer RFIs and respond to submittals in CMiC?
The answer is yes, and that is the purpose of CMiC Collaborate. It's all about communications and documents. Once you give them access to your project and they are coming through the gateway, they're actually coming directly into a CMiC system. We have a number of clients today that are using this and using it successfully. And I would be remiss if I don't thank the guys out there that have worked with me to help us to streamline the workflow and stabilize the system. You guys know who you are. I appreciate your patience there, and they've done the heavy lifting in order for everyone to reap the benefit of that, which is it's all about communications, it's all about documentation. Get them into the gateway, have them click on those tabs and go directly to the project to answer RFIs, create RFIs, review submittals, as well as approve anything that you give them access to within the project management security matrix.
Okay, thank you. I think the next question is related to email notifications and the email invites that you spoke about. Does the email display that it is coming from the actual sender?
No, right now we send it on behalf of the CMiC Collaborate. If you want it to come from the actual sender, this may be a follow-up question that we might have to work with you offline, but we would need to know those parameters. Do you want it to be from the specific person that's sending it, or do you want it to be from the company that's sending it? Right now, it comes on behalf of the collaboration portal. So what we're looking for there is, as you bring your collaborators online, just let them know what to expect. And the easiest way that I've seen clients do this is they forward a sample of the email and they say, hey, keep an eye out for something like this. So great questions, and some things for us to consider as we go forward.
Thank you. The next one is, are project documents like subcontracts and change orders signed via the project gateway?
No. I think for that one, what we recommend is, if you want to do any type of electronic signing, is you take your contracts and your change orders and use our Docusign Adapter. So create your contracts, create your change orders in CMiC, and use Docusign to push those documents out into Docusign, and then that way you utilize the Docusign e-sign workflow for those type of signatures. I wish I had that feature in the gateway, but no, it's just about documents and communications right now. For e-signatures, just utilize our Docusign adapter.
Thank you. The next one is, how does Gateway work with joint ventures with a different company?
The same way it works for any collaborator. So in the case of a joint venture, you can treat your JV as a collaborator. Of course, with joint ventures, the problem, or not the problem, but the thing that you have to identify is which system is the system of record. And once you identify who is the primary on the JV, then the other half of the JV becomes a collaborator into the primary. So in terms of the primary and secondary, the secondary would be using the gateway to, put information into the primary's system. Taking that a step further, and it's slightly outside the scope of what we're doing today, if you wanted two CMiC systems to synchronize with each other, that's where you would turn to another feature that we have in Collaborate that's called PM Exchange. And what that would do for you is, you don't have to use the gateway. You would just simply enter the data in any system, whether it's primary or secondary, and the PM Exchange would keep those two CMiC projects in sync. But that is a conversation for another webinar. In this case, you simply identify the primary and the secondary JVs, and the secondary becomes a collaborator into the primary's project system.
Thank you. The next question is, does the enhanced mobile collaborator within their project contact need to be checked for them to have access to mobile field, or what does that checkbox actually do?
Okay, I am going to punt on that question right now, and we'll follow up on it via email. Just know that that checkbox does not relate to Collaborate. It has a completely different meaning in our system. In order for a user to use Collaborate, they simply have to be either a user within your CMiC system or a contact. If they're a contact, the act of sending the invitation, the onboarding process, makes them a user, and they're able to use the Collaborate. So just general collaboration applies. That flag does not apply to Project Gateway.
Okay. The next question is, are you able to provide collaborators with access to a BI dashboard that's been added to a project's menu tree?
The answer is yes. And as I answer this, I am trying to quickly navigate to see if I can find an example of it without revealing too much data. But I do know that if you, I am just going to make sure that my screen is being shared right now. But if you can see my screen, which I think you are, you'll notice that under this site management folder that there are a few BI reports here that the collaborators have been given access to. I'm not going to run them because this is a live project, and of course there's sensitivity around it. However, yes, if you set up your security correctly, you can give collaborators access to BIs within the PM portal. Okay.
Okay. And if you have existing projects in progress, can you add these projects into the Gateway portal?
The answer is yes. At any point, you can add collaborators. As people come in, people leave, it doesn't really matter. You can invite them at any time. So it does not have to be a brand new project. It just has to be something that the collaborator knows that is going to happen. So, it can happen at any time in the project lifecycle.
Okay. I think, Oliver, there are a couple of questions also on setup. I think these are from existing users. So would it be more appropriate for them to send you an email so that you could probably give a more elaborate answer, or should I ask one of the questions?
No, if it's set up and implementation related, they can send me an email or create a CMiC case, and we can assist them, in a more, a better, a one-on-one fashion. Right now, let's just kind of keep it a little bit at a higher level.
Sure. And the next question is, can you give the collaborators access to see cost status query?
You could if you wanted to. I've never known anyone to do that, but yeah, it follows PM security. So if you create a PM role that gives that collaborator access to your job status query, then yes, you can go ahead and do that. There's no limitation in what you can share via the gateway. So when they come in from the gateway and they hit your project, your PM roles security kick in. So if you decide to just give them documents and communications, that's all they see. If you want to increase or enhance that menu to show them cost status queries, maybe in the case of an owner, you're sharing that information, absolutely. But just make sure that you create your PM security roles based on the person that's coming in so they see the correct data and they have access to the correct applications.
Okay, thank you. I think the next couple of questions are related to access in a way where you spoke about how access can be given to collaborators, but the question here is, how do you remove access for maybe a collaborator who may be no longer on the project, or maybe the users are no longer on the project?
Very simple. If Fablia has her screen up, I'm just going to push this back out to her. And Fablia, if you can go into the Project Maintenance Gateway tab, what you're going to notice is at the very bottom of the tab, once she gets there, there is an action column. And if you go right over to the delete button, you can actually press that and that will revoke the collaborator's access. Don't execute it. You can say no because it's going to remove it from your dashboard, and we may need to show the dashboard later, but it's as simple as that. And that's how you do it in a one-by-one case. If you wanted to do it in a batch mode, you simply use the select column, which is the first column on the left side, and you'll notice at the bottom that those buttons are now enabled to allow you to do one of two things: either resend the invitation because it might have got jammed up in a spam mail, it didn't go out, but in the case of the question that we're answering right now, you can do a single revocation, or you can do it in a batch process, and that's what the operation looks like.
Okay, and the next question on access and inviting collaborators into the project is, can we initiate collaboration in the middle of a project, or maybe after a project has actually started?
The answer is yes, and we tackled this already. It doesn't matter what phase of the project you're in. You could be, pre-construction, construction, closeout. At any point, you can invite a collaborator into a project. The phase of the project has no bearing on the collaboration that we're talking about today. That's entirely up to you when you want to turn it on, who you want to invite, and when you want to invite them.
All right. Thank you so much. And we probably have time for one last question. If we already have collab set up, collab users set up in the past, can we bring them into Gateway now? And are there any, special, steps or any special conditions that apply in that case?
The answer is yes, and it's not special conditions. It's more of a communication that needs to happen. So if you have collaborators that are going directly to your site, meaning that they're not going to CMICcollaborate.com, they're going to companyname.com/CMIC prod. You guys know the rest of the URL, and they're using a username and a password that you provided. Once you start the invitation process, what the system does is the system takes over the ownership of that password. So what it does is that password is no longer usable. It just destroys it completely. Then what you need to tell your collaborator is instead of going to mycompanyname.com, you go to CMiC Collaborate, and of course they will know that from the invitation, and they just start using that URL or that portal instead of going straight to your site. So from a system perspective, there's no technical limitation there. It's just a communication with the existing collaborator to say, hey, you no longer have to come directly to my site. You go to CMiC Collaborate, you're going to see the project on your dashboard, click on it, and then you'll get access to the site, right? So it's just a different entry point is the way to think of it if you already have active collaborators.
All right, thank you. And it's time for one final question. Some of our audience are curious to know how many customers, how many users are actively using Project Gateway, in their systems.
Yeah, the last count I did, which was probably a month ago, the numbers are crazy. There's literally thousands of users that have registered and use it. In terms of projects, there are hundreds of projects that have been published all across the board from our cloud system, from as well as on-premise systems. For those of you that are going through the process of migrating from 10X to R12, we recommend that you definitely turn on Gateway after you've completed your R12 implementation. It's much easier, it's a much smooth process. I just want to repeat for our cloud clients that are using our cloud platform, this has already been enabled for you. So you can literally go to the Gateway tab within the project maintenance screen like you saw earlier and start publishing those projects and inviting your collaborators to get access to your projects.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the Q&A. Thank you, Oliver, Pabliha, and Ken, for all your efforts. And for our audience, please note that a recording of today's session will be made available shortly. So please stay tuned for that. And Oliver, back to you for any closing comments. And before I hand it over to you, I would also like to assure some of the audience, some of the questions that came in related to implementation, that those will be shared with Oliver and the teams, and they will be getting back to you shortly. Thank you once again, and back to you, Oliver.
Okay, thanks, Nitin. I'm going to wrap this up in 30 seconds. So guys, just hang out there. Just some important announcements I got to make. Some of them are shameless plugs, but it's all important stuff. First of all, I want to let you guys know that CMiC Connect is coming up first week of November. If you haven't registered, register. If you don't know how to register, send me an email, create a case, get a hold of somebody in CMiC, let them know you want to register for Connect, and we'll get you registered there. Second of all, any questions relating to CMICcollaborate.com in terms of Gateway or any of our other features, email me, create a case study. And last but not least, I want to thank you guys for spending the afternoon with us, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.